What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I'm bringing you a deck that is loosely centered around Henry Pryor's list that he used in the 2014 National Championships, and that is a deck centered around Flygon, Dusknoir, and Accelgor. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys liked this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button, it helps us out a lot. And let's do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, because this is a Sunday upload, my question is always the same. Did you guys have anything cool happen this past week, or do you have anything cool planned for the week ahead? As for me, I got back from the Bahamas on Tuesday, so I mean that was kind of exciting for this past week. And then this upcoming week, really just a whole lot of nothing, just the monotony is real. So it's back to work, back to real life, which is quite unfortunate given that I was kind of enjoying a very nice weekend away from everything. But yeah, that's what was going on with me. Let me know what you guys are doing or have been doing in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you guys have got going on. But anyway, onto the deck. Like I said, it is centered around the loose list of Henry Pryor, or the idea. I didn't find his exact list, so I just went with the kind of the concept and then went from there. And that is around Deck and Cover, Accelgor, Sandslammer, Flygon, and then Sinister Hand, Dusknoir. So basically what this deck does is you paralyze things like Accelgor, put Flygon up in the active, put a bunch of damage on the board with that, and then Dusknoir moves damage counters around. So this is a deck that is incredibly difficult to set up. I mean, it takes a little while to set up because you're not only relying on one stage 2, you're relying on two of them. You're potentially relying on multiple of one of them with Flygon, considering Flygon's the one that would take the hits in a lot of scenarios. And then you're also relying on being able to consistently stream Accelgor and Shelmet. So really it's just kind of a, you gotta get relatively lucky in the setup. And then once you get it set up though, this deck is very, very potent. And you might be thinking, well, doesn't this deck auto-lose to any deck that has Virizion? Yeah, pretty much, but we're just going to kind of go with that because this is such a cool deck, and I didn't really have the opportunity to be able to tech for that, just because this deck is already so jam-packed to begin with. But as for the Pokemon that we were running in our deck, the first thing, I'm just going to go in order because, I mean, hey, that's where they are. The first thing is 313 line of Trapinch and Flygon. And this is where a lot of the important damage comes from. I mean, yeah, the main damage is going to come from Accelgor and poisoning our opponent, but Flygon's Sandslammer, at any time between turns, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you put one damage counter on each of your opponent's Pokemon. If your opponent has a full bench, that's an extra 120 damage on top of what you're already getting with Accelgor. So Flygon really just kind of enhances the ability to abuse Sinister Hand, because while it might seem that, okay, like a couple damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon isn't that big of a deal, it doesn't amount to any particular knockout, so I mean, I guess it could in some cases. But normally it's just like, okay, well, you have one damage counter on a Pokemon that's never going to come active, like what's the point of that? Well, the combination with Sinister Hand is what makes Sandslammer so amazing. Because like I said, if your opponent has a full bench, then Sandslammer does an additional 120 damage coming back into your turn by Flygon simply being active. Well, and if it doesn't get knocked out. With Dusknoir, Sinister Hand, this is the second part of the strategy. As often as you like during your turn, you may move one damage counter from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another of your opponent's Pokemon, and might I just add, I want Dusknoir back in the standard. I think that would be so incredibly much fun. That'd be amazing to have. But regardless, we have it in the Legacy format, and that's what we're dealing with. So the combination of Flygon and Dusknoir is a really cool and fun combination that allows for damage manipulation, damage stacking very, very quickly without even attacking. And the final piece to what makes this deck good is Accelgor with Deck and Cover. For a DCE, does 50 damage, and the defending Pokemon is now paralyzed and poisoned. The drawback is you have to shuffle Accelgor back into your deck. Well, Accelgor and all cards attached to it back into your deck. So really, the entire strategy of the deck, lock one of your opponent's Pokemon in the active, Deck and Cover so it's paralyzed and it can't escape. You put up Flygon, put up additional damage, and then, yeah, when it comes back into your turn, you use the Float Stone that you have on Flygon to retreat back into another Accelgor, move all the damage counters off with Dusknoir, and then repeat the process, essentially locking a single Pokemon of your opponent's in the active spot, while Dusknoir allows you to move around energy or move around damage so that you're able to take prizes on benched Pokemon, leaving the Pokemon still paralyzed in the active spot to where your opponent really can't do much of anything. So it's a very, very potent combination of 3 Pokemon. Just a little bit, well, actually not a little bit, it's a lot difficult to get set up because we are relying on 2 Stage 2s and a consistent stream of Stage 1s. If we only get 1 Accelgor out, that's not enough. We pretty much have to be able to stream them every single turn if we want to be able to keep this lot going and really just use this deck to what it's capable of. As for the lines of Pokemon, I'm running 3-1-3 of Trapinch through Flygon. Flygon, yes, it's important, but not important enough to run 4 of them. If I were to run 4 of anything, it would have been Shelmet and Accelgor, but I'll get to why I don't have 4 of those in a second. But basically with Flygon, just 3-1-3. Flygon's going to be taking hits if, for whatever reason, your opponent is able to retreat out of there. I mean, Flygon's going to be the thing that's active when it's your opponent's turn 90% of the time, so you want to have more than just 2 of these guys, and also you want to be able to get them when you need them. Flygon is the stage 2 that you want to get first, because Dusknoir you only need to get when there's sufficient damage built up on the board to where Sinister Hand is able to be used effectively. Flygon you want to get out quickly and efficiently, and potentially multiple of them, so that's why I'm running 3-1-3 of Trapinch through Flygon. I'll come back to Accelgor in a second. 2-2 of Duskull and Dusknoir, not running a single Dusklops, just because, I mean, 1, I really didn't have the room for a single Dusklops. 2, with this 2-2 line, you're essentially going to be using Rare Candy for it more often than not. I mean, I would say close to 99. No, not 99. But either way, it is a huge majority of the time to where I eventually was just like, you know what? Forget Dusknoir, or forget, not Dusknoir, you need Dusknoir. Forget Dusklops. You don't use that thing all that much. We run enough rare candies in the deck, along with junk arms. We should be able to have a junk arm or a rare candy into Dusknoir when we need it. And so I decided to free up a little space by just not having Dusklops at all. And I mean, it does lead to some scenarios where, like, well, crap, I don't have a rare candy and a Dusknoir. I would rather have a Dusklops. But more often than not, you're going to want a rare candy into a Dusknoir. And then finally, 3-3 of Shelmet and Accelgor. I know I said if I was going to run 4 of anything, it would be this. But I decided to free up a space in the deck by running 1 copy of Mew-EX with the versatile ability. This Pokemon can use the attacks of any Pokemon in play. I mean, you still need the energy to attack. But what it does, it gives me a basic Pokemon way of being able to use deck and cover if I have an Accelgor up. If I only have 1 Accelgor in play, and I don't have a Shelmet, and I still need to attack, if I deck and covered with Accelgor, it would break the trend, or it would break the lock, because by 2 turns down the road, I wouldn't be able, well, the next turn actually, I wouldn't be able to deck and cover, because I'd still have to play a Shelmet down, which would not allow me to evolve into Accelgor, which would not allow me to deck and cover. Mew, like I said, provides a basic Pokemon way of doing that. That way, if you only have 1 Accelgor out and you don't have a way of getting a Shelmet, Mew can just be like, you know what, I got you, I can deck and cover. And also, in the Legacy format, a lot of this deck relies around getting good math with deck and cover, being like, okay, well, I need to hit for this certain amount at this point to not knock out my opponent or something like that. I mean, granted, Dusknoir helps out a ton with that, but Mew allows you to hit for those special numbers, just like hit for resistance or weakness in some cases. It just helps out a lot of the math, putting more damage on the board. And I mean, yeah, Dusknoir does really just kind of take out the special situations that you normally have with Accelgor, but still, Mew is a basic Pokemon way of doing that, and I still really, really like Mew, and I think it's it definitely deserves a spot over a 4th line of Shelmet and Accelgor. As for the items, running 1 Computer Search, Computer Search gets you whatever you need, and this deck is all about completing combos in order to get a setup. Computer Search helps with that. Junk Arm lets us reuse any of the items that we have, particularly like Computer Search, PCOM, Rare Candy, all of those are necessary. For Level Ball, I'm not running 4 Ultra Ball in this deck because, I mean, I'm already discarding enough with Junk Arm and Computer Search. I really don't want to discard that much more with Ultra Ball. So I decided to go with Level Ball because it allows me to search out all of my little basic Pokemon that help me get set up early. One Lost Remover to kind of help slow our opponent down. Lost Remover with Junk Arm essentially can turn into 5 Lost Removers in a perfect scenario. So I mean, really just slow our opponent down. One Max Potion, only one because first of all we have Junk Arm to be able to reuse Max Potion, but it's for Flygon. For when Flygon takes a hit and doesn't get knocked out. Flygon has 140 HP. We are never going to have energy on Flygon. So, I mean, Max Potion is a way of just being like, okay, Flygon's got a little bit longer to live. 3, PCOM. This is what I'm using instead of Ultra Ball. We run enough Pokemon that we should have one in our hand. That way we can just be like, okay, I want to PCOM away my Dusknoir to grab a Flygon or some combination of that. And it's a non-discard way of getting our stage 2s out, and also Mew to a lesser extent. Oh, by the way, Level Ball also grabs Accelgor, forgot to mention that. 2 Random Receivers. I love running Random Receiver in Legacy decks, and I'm going to keep doing that just because it essentially it's a free supporter, and it can turn Junk Arm into a supporter in the right scenario. 4 Rare Candy, absolute max number, because we want those early, and we want them often. 1 Super Rod to be able to put back some of the Pokemon. If we could run Sacred Ash in this deck, I would, but unfortunately, we cannot because Sacred Ash is not in the Legacy format. 1 Switch, just to kind of help out if we don't have a Float Stone in the right scenario, because Flygon has... I mean, it only has 1 retreat cost, but that'd still be discarding a DCE, which is something we do not want to do. Dusknoir happens to have a nasty 3 retreat cost, and really it's just kind of a, okay, I have a Pokemon active that I really don't want active right now. Switch is just a nice way out of that. And also it's a nice way out of things like paralysis against opposing deck and cover, just stuff like that. Switch is a great way to get out of there. 1 Tool Scrapper, because Garbodor just completely destroys this deck. We rely on 3 lines of Pokemon with abilities that help this deck, so Garbotoxin would destroy me, hence why I'm running Tool Scrapper. 3 Virbank City Gyms, just to help out with the poison, put additional damage counters on our opponent. Just Virbank City Gym puts an additional 4 damage counters on our opponent's side of the field, and with Dusknoir you can manipulate those like crazy. Just the name of the game is tons of damage counters on our opponent's side and just moving them around with Dusknoir. As for the supporters, running 4 Ponce, because, I mean, hey, that's a perfect draw supporter. You don't want to discard cards too often with this deck unless you absolutely have to. So, Oak is a perfect way of doing that. 3 N, just same type of thing. I just like running more Oak than N. Colress, we have a very full bench a lot of the time, so Colress is great for that. If your opponent even just has 2 Pokemon on their bench, all of a sudden Colress becomes a better Oak's New Theory. And then 1 Skyla to kind of search out for a rare candy, Max Potion, whatever we might need in a certain scenario. I haven't used Skyla all that often, but when I have, it's been very necessary. 3 Float Stones for Flygon, Dusknoir, just give free retreat, that way we can go into Flygon, retreat back into Accelgor, and then repeat the process over and over. And then 4 DCEs, because, I mean, deck and cover relies on DCE, and that is the main mode of getting damage on the board in this deck. So, yeah, I am done rambling. Let's just go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one, and honestly, the fact that I had to wait like 2 minutes just to find a match does not bode well, so it looks like the Legacy ladder is dead today, but nonetheless, I'm still going to try to find some solid matches with this deck. We do win the coin flip, meaning we will go first, and we're against a pure grass deck, which could actually be somewhat problematic if my opponent runs Virizion, because that shuts down the poison and all that from the deck, and it's actually... Okay, so it looks like we're against a mirror Accelgor, so we're against another Accelgor deck, but it doesn't have... It's running Tangrowth as well, so I really have no idea what my opponent is running. It could be a very, very cool idea. I just have no idea what Tangrowth does. Regardless, we do start off with a Trapinch, and this is very good for us. I have a very solid opening hand, because what I can do is Level Ball for a Shelmet or a Duskull or really whatever I want to get from that. Yes, I would like to draw a card, and I get a rare candy, so this is even better. What I'm going to do, let's computer search, get rid of a Virbank and the Super Rod, I think. What do I want to do? Let's get rid of Virbank and Super Rod to grab maybe... Actually, you know what? Let's grab a Duskull with the computer search, and then I'll level ball for a Shelmet, just so I can get set up as quickly as possible and go from there. So yeah, let's play all those guys down. I'm not going to Oak because I have the Rare Candy into Flygon in my hand right now, and I want that for next turn. So yeah, I'm in a pretty solid position. My opponent's Shelmet does get a Grass Energy, and whoa, that was weird. Oh, it was Yawn. Okay, I was about to say, that's... what the heck is that? So, what I'm going to do, go ahead and Rare Candy up my Trapinch into a Flygon, DCE up my Shelmet, and if I'm able to get a Float Stone and an Accelgor, I'll be able to retreat and knock this guy out. I get an Accelgor, but unfortunately, I do not get any means of retreating. I have the Junk Arm into Computer Search for next turn, which I might just have to... yeah, I'll just end my turn right there. Sand Slammer, damage up the Shelmet and the Tangela. And what I can do is, yeah, my opponent can evolve. Well, actually, he's going to Elms Training. If he doesn't get anything else out, I actually might be able to just win by knocking out the Tangela. I mean, assuming he doesn't have a Tangrowth in his hand. But yeah, he can deck and cover. But what I can do... oh, wait, I'm paralyzed. I can't retreat. That's right. I mean, either way, the damage is going to be stacking up from Sand Slammer, so that's good at the very least. And what I can do is just Junk Arm into Computer Search if I want to, but honestly, let's just do that. I mean, just Max Potion up the Flygon. My own Virbank is coming back to hurt me a little bit, but Sand Slammer is taking its toll on the Tangela. My opponent doesn't have much of anything else, and now next turn goes for beat. Yeah, next turn I can just Junk Arm into my Computer Search to grab a Float Stone, retreat into my Accelgor, and win the game. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So, unfortunately, this one's going to be a very, very short one because my opponent wasn't able to get anything going at all. So, unfortunate on that end. I mean, he was still able to deck and cover me. But, yeah, that was the first match. Fortunately, we did not run into Virizion, although my opponent might have run it, and I just didn't see it because my opponent didn't play a draw supporter. But regardless, I mean, that's a match. You take what the Legacy Ladder gives you because it is not kind. It's not been kind to me lately. Every time I've tried to play Legacy, it has just been like, yeah, I'm just going to have nobody playing Legacy at all. And especially now with Guardians Rising still in recent memory, more people are playing Standard and even Expanded than Legacy, so... keeping my fingers crossed, let's go ahead and try to find another one, and hopefully it lasts longer than, like, 3 turns. So, I actually decided to time it, and this match took me a whole 5 minutes and 47 seconds to get, so, man, the Legacy Ladder is extra dead. But, I mean, hey, at least we found one. Hopefully it's going to be a substantial one, but either way, we do win the coin flip, so we will get to go first, and... well, looks like I mulligan, and... ooh, this could be interesting. We see Hypnotoxic Laser, we see... well, we see that I'm going to mulligan again. So I'm really not sure what my opponent is running just based off the typing and then just seeing the DCEs, so... could be very interesting to say the least. Unfortunately, I will have to mulligan again, which will give my opponent a card, which, I mean, I don't... you never like giving your opponent cards. But on the bright side, if it keeps me from having to keep this hand, then you know what? I'll take it. Unfortunately, it looks like my opponent might be... oh, never mind. Okay, I was going to say they might be AFK, which means that this match won't even be substantial at all, so I would just kind of... it would kind of be a bummer if that were the case, but luckily my opponent... well, unless it's TCGO just playing a Pokemon down for him. But hopefully this turns into a match. It's not looking good. I mean, my opponent doesn't look to be having that good of connection. It might even just be that they are not even at their keyboard or whatever. I start off with some... if I had a supporter, this would be really good. Unfortunately, I don't have a supporter, so this is not very good. Otherwise, it's okay. I mean, I can PCOM for... let's play the Mew down. And now I'm going to PCOM, get rid of the Dusknoir, go for probably just a Trapinch because I have no way... I don't have like a Jirachi or anything like that. Just because, I mean, this deck doesn't have room for that stuff. And so, yeah, just going to pass a turn right there. My opponent starts with a Zangoose. I honestly have no idea what my opponent is running. What does Zangoose even do? Lost Claw, choose one card from your opponent's hand without looking. Put it in the lost zone. Is this... Oh, this could be really cool. Maybe. This could be really cool if it's a Lost Zone deck. Or like a Lost World deck where you go for that. So that's going to be really, really interesting if that is what my opponent has. Oh, thank the Lord. Alright, so we get some good stuff finally. I get... Yep, this is definitely a Lost World deck that my opponent is going to go for. So this could be very, very interesting. Their whole goal is prize denial, while mine is taking very selective prizes and rearranging stuff in the right way so that I can get good prizes. So this will be very, very interesting for me. My opponent does get a Slowpoke, which means he's running that Slow King that looks at the top card of your opponent's deck. And please now... Okay, so he just Swords Dances. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and play a Random Receiver so that I have something at the very least. So then I have that in the discard pile. That way a Junk Arm essentially turns into a supporter. What I'm going to do I want to play the extra Duskull? No, I don't. I'm just going to Oak. Hopefully I can get something... Well, I get a Flygon. Unfortunately... Do I want to get the Flygon or do I want to get the Dusknoir? Actually, I can just Junk Arm for another rare candy if I want. But then again, I'd be getting rid of a supporter and a DCE in order to do that. So I think the play is to grab Flygon. And now I'm going to... Yeah, now I'm just going to go ahead and deck and cover. I won't be able to string it together, but at least that's going to be damage on the board that I can move around. Luckily, Mime Jr. has 30 HP, so those are going to be some pretty free prizes overall. In terms of just being able to hit that thing, just move a couple damage counters. In fact, all I have to do is just move one onto it, and then it's going to get knocked out coming back into my turn. So the Mime Jr. is actually going to be a liability for my opponent, when normally in these decks, Mime Jr. is like a godsend, because your opponent, Mime Jr. would not get damaged by attacks that when it is asleep. So just moving damage counters onto it are not attacks. So yeah, in a pretty solid position right now. My opponent does get a Slow King. I mean, that's honestly fine. And he retreats. He switches his Zangoose out. That is great for me. That keeps damage counters on the board. Zangoose is not a threat. Mime Jr. is actually a bigger threat than Zangoose is. So what I'm going to do is, I love having those damage counters on the board, especially once I get a Dusknoir in play. It's going to allow me to just continually be like, okay, let's just move a couple damage counters here. Let's save those for the Mime Juniors that my opponent puts into play. Then that's going to allow me to just take some very quick prizes, some very cheap prizes, and go from there. So this is honestly very fantastic. My opponent is going to Skyla. Not sure what for. On the bright side, I can Junk Arm for a rare candy so that I can get a Dusknoir, but in the process, I'd be getting rid of either a DCE or my draw supporter in N. Because I'm going to have to get rid of whatever I top deck. There's a Rescue Scarf. That's even better, because that means my opponent's just going to keep recycling Mime Juniors, which are just going to be prizes for me. So we do see another attachment. He's going to Second Sight and then throw a Pokemon into the Lost Zone of mine. That is fine. I seriously think I'd just be able to win this with a combination of Flygon and Dusknoir. Like, Accelgor is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, and Accelgor is usually what makes this deck work. But in this particular matchup, I should be able to simply win with a combination of Flygon and Dusknoir. Like, that's fine with me. My opponent does Second Sight my deck. I mean, that's making the right play. Second Sighting mine, making sure that whatever he discards will be gotten rid of, will be sent into the Lost Zone by Mime Jr. And Rescue Scarf, is that going to be by... No. It's by... No, he gets rid of my Junk Arm. Are you kidding me? Ah, crap. So I must not have had a Pokemon in there. On the bright side, this works, actually. I can just P-Com for a Dusclops or something. And, I mean, Zangoose goes down, so I get a prize, so that works too. Let's go ahead and P-Com get rid of the Dusknoir, grab... I want to grab a Shelmet. I mean, I don't run Dusclops, so let's grab a Shelmet. Throw that in there. I could... I don't even want to switch. Let's see, Slowking has 20. My Slowking has 80, and then 20. Here we go. Okay, I can work with this. Let's go ahead and... How do I want to do this? First things first, let's Level Ball, grab an Accelgor. That way I can at least have that up for next turn, so Mew can deck and cover if I need to. But then let's... Yeah, let's just take a knockout on the Mime Jr. My opponent will not be able to get it back because it is only if it's knocked out by damage, not by abilities. Mime Jr. was just knocked out by abilities. My opponent plays another... plays 2 down. Whoa, those are just free prizes. Oh man, I'm licking my lips at this. Like, those are just free prizes. My opponent plays Enhanced Hammer. Guys, if you play Legacy and you have access to Lost Remover over Enhanced Hammer, always play that. There are methods of recursion from the discard pile. There are no methods of recursion from the Lost Zone. My opponent does twin, so this match is actually... This match actually could be getting interesting. I mean, I still think that I am 1,000% in the driver's seat, and there's almost... And, I mean, I don't think my opponent can actually truly win at this point. Just because, I mean, I have... Because Flygon's just going to be able to rack up 10 damage between turns, 20 damage on each Pokemon, and right now, Flygon's going to be racking up 80 damage, like, per one of my turns, simply by being active. My opponent will be able to Second Sight, throw a Pokemon into the Lost Zone, and I don't even have my... there's a Dusknoir. I was about to say, I don't even have a Dusknoir at this point. Ooh. Well, what I can do... I can P-Com for a... I can P-Com for a Dusknoir. So I can Junk Arm for a P-Com, or I can Junk Arm for a... I can Junk Arm for a P-Com or for a Random Receiver. I think the better play right now is to grab a P-Com, because I don't need a supporter. I really don't. I just need a Dusknoir so that I can move around damage to optimize my knockouts on my opponent's Pokemon. So let's go ahead and grab that Dusknoir. That way I can Rare Candy up into a Duskull. And then I'm going to evolve into... I'm going to evolve into an Accelgor, obviously, just so I have that free retreat on Shelmet. And yeah, I mean, if my opponent wants to like try to catch her up something, if he wants to try to catch her up the Dusknoir, well then he has to go on a coin flip. So what I'm going to do is put 10 damage on each Mime Jr. That way I get 2 prizes coming into my turn. I don't want to give my opponent a chance to be able to end me out of the prizes that I get. This way, yes, my opponent can put another Pokemon potentially in the Lost Zone, but I have the setup I need. He can put all the Pokemon he wants in the Lost Zone. Well, not all of them, because if he gets like 7 and then is able to Lost World, then I kind of lose the game. But I don't care at this point, because right now I'm going to get 2 prizes coming into my turn. My opponent will have no Mime Juniors on the board. He's going to have to promote like Slowpoke or Slowking, one of those guys. And then I can honestly just move damage around, deck and cover if I can get a DCE and do all that stuff. So I'm just, yeah, I'm still like 5-6 Pokemon away. I don't remember if Lost World is 6 or 7. But I am, okay, did he, what did he get rid of? Oh, he got rid of a Shelmet. Okay, so I'm getting closer, but now both Mime Juniors are knocked out. I get 2 prizes off of that. And yeah, my opponent just scoops. There was nothing he could do. I would have been able to just... If I got a DCE, I would have been able to deck and cover. And then the combination of Poison plus Sand Slammer would have allowed me to take the knockouts to win me the game. So, I mean, just plain and simple, that's how that worked. It was a great matchup for us from the beginning. A very cool deck that we ran into. I haven't seen a lot of Lost Zone decks recently. And I know this is going to be a little bit shorter of a live, so I apologize that, but I'm just going to have to call it there. The Legacy ladder is completely dead right now. It takes me a while to even find matches, and also this is just a fun upload, so I hope you guys enjoyed this fun deck. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.